Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And you're very welcome along to this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. It's Ger Gilroy and Johnny Ward with you every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock on all of our social channels and on the OTB Sports app these days. Johnny, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Ger. Yourself?
I think we've given you enough grief for long enough that when you're back, we should, pay due deference to the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Ward is back. Winner last week.
3-1 winner, yeah. Gone racing. It was a bad run, Ger. A lot of seconds and thirds, but that doesn't put bread on the table really. And yeah, let's see if we can kick on though. The old bus analogy might come into play this week, hopefully.
They come in 3s and 4s.
Yeah, the bicycles go by in 2s and 3s. Hopefully, so do the winners.
The dance in Billy Brennan's barn. We're starting off with a little bit of Kavanagh to get things going. You wanted to mention what a great weekend we have in store.
Well, the League of Ireland is back, and this is as Suey Byrne was saying on OTB earlier. Is like this is actually could be a once in a lifetime opportunity for the League of Ireland because effectively you have an audience that just wasn't there both internationally and within Ireland. So a televised game tonight, all these games being streamed, and we can showcase the best of our footballers in Ireland to an audience that just wasn't there. We can also showcase some pretty decrepit grounds, and that is a bit of an issue, but I think it's very exciting. And on the racing front, what would have been such an odd year? Galway is clashing with Leopardstown today, a really good card ongoing as we speak. And tomorrow we've Kilbeggan as well. So we've Goodwood. So like for racing fans, there's a hell of a lot of stuff to get into. And as much as the crowd not being in Galway, I haven't been down there, to be honest. I didn't have an awful lot of interest in going down because of the way it is. As much as that's been a drawback, the racing has been fascinating to watch. And some of the races at Goodwood have been so compelling in terms of how top-class jockeys ride a tricky track over the course of a minute. So the racing has been fantastic this week. We've Donnacha O'Brien with his first British runner, bolting up in the Nassau Stakes as well. And I think Donnacha and Joseph have upstaged their daddy a bit this week. Well,
there you go. There's another Kavanagh reference, isn't it? Stony Grey Soil. That's the whole point of that, is that the kids sometimes take over from the parents, and that's exactly what's happened. We'll get into that a little bit later on.
Stony Grey Soil.
If anybody has anything that they want to get off their chest, 53106, you can text, or you can always, better still, send us a comment on the stream that you're watching this on, and we'll put them to Johnny or to our guest this week. And I'm delighted to say our guest is with us, Garry Cribbin. Garry, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good afternoon, Jared. Thanks for having me on today. How are you, Johnny?
How are you, Garry?
So you're a jockey's agent. For a lot of us who are getting to grips with how the industry actually works, we understand how an agent works in most sports, but you're actually kind of different in that you literally book rides for your jockeys. Is that right?
That's right, Jared. Basically, I'm there to get them on the best horses in every race, if possible. I have a great team in my books at the minute, and my job is literally ring the trainers the minute the entries come out. So 5 days in advance, the entries would come out, Ger, and I'm on the phone straight away, obviously, to try and sell my jockeys. It's like being a salesman. It's the same sort of thing, but my job is just to get my jockeys on as many horses as possible. And
so you got to know everybody, right?
Yeah, everybody in the business, Ger. Trainers nowadays, they're so busy, like it's hard, to get them at the right time. Then again, you go texting trainers. Some of them like to text nowadays. It's easier, there's our guys that are managing 100 plus horses, some of them, so it's not always easy to get them online, but majority of the time, you build up a relationship with them and they're brilliant, you just get onto them straight away and give them who they want. They obviously nearly always go with the best available. It's like everything in life. You're only as good as your last winner, and the majority of the time, the owners want the best available. Whoever's riding winners, whoever's in form at time, they usually go for them.
Yeah, you have an interesting job, and it's kind of the fact that your decisions are so important. And I suppose it's worth emphasising, Garry, agent is almost like a dirty word now, particularly in football, when you see the money that these clubs spend on agents. But you guys actually do have a fairly important role to play. And I suppose my first question for you is, what led you to get into this job? Because I've spoken to lads who've been agents, they've been there, done that, and they've eventually just kind of they left it because it involves so much work. But you obviously were attracted to it for some reason or other.
I was, Johnny. It's tough, don't get me wrong. And sometimes it's very draining, like it's very stressful work. But I love it. I'm just addicted to it. And I get into that office first thing in the morning and I leave it last thing at night. I got into it, Johnny. I suppose I broke my neck in 2004 in a fall. And to cut a long story short, I literally didn't know what I was going to do because horses was my life. And I obviously wasn't going to ride anymore. So I remember actually being in the hospital at the time, and the first operation wasn't a success. And then I had to get bone grafted out of my pelvis and put in through the back of my head with rods. So I got my neck fused. And I remember lying there and one of the lads come in. I remember Ross O'Sullivan and Niall Madden saying, like, you know, should give it a go, like, and give the agency a go. And I remember Lord Mercy on John Short, meeting John Short after, and I talking to John Short, and he was doing it at the time. And John, as you know, Johnny was brilliant at his job, and he said, give it a go, like. So I did. I remember going into the old turf club now behind the stand house, and meeting the stewards and going for my licenses. But like, I was in a neck brace, Johnny, and a pair of crutches, so they were obviously going to give it to me anyway. But
Just on that though, like this is, if I'm right, 2003, 3 jockeys passed away in Ireland. So you're a year later, and what was it like when that happened to you? And what was your, like, were bad thoughts coming into your head initially in terms of what this might entail?
Yeah, I remember at first it was frightening. It was a frightening experience, and especially when the first operation didn't go to plan, Johnny. And I remember being in the Mater Hospital and getting the second one. It was a long, long process, but like, I got out likely, like, to compare to the boys that, you know, didn't, unfortunately. I did. I was very, very lucky, and I count my lucky stars every day. Like, I'm back now. I'm back playing sport and back enjoying life and, you know, loving my job, like.
It's funny because, not funny rather, but it's just so important, your mentality. When you look at Freddie Tilitsky and George Baker, and obviously George isn't in a wheelchair, like, unlike Freddie, but their attitude has been so positive in terms of, you know, I've lost what I love doing, and I was, you know, and these were jockeys really riding well, like at the top of the game when this happened. But they've just taken on this really glass half full stance, and it just seems to be your mentality is 99% of the law nearly.
That's it, Johnny, and you just have to stay positive. Like, you know, I suppose you have 2 paths, what one you want to take, and you just stay positive and go forward. And I never look back, and I remember, like, getting that license at the start and saying, oh God, will it work, like, you know, but you just got to work at things in life, and if you work hard at them, you'll get the rewards, you know, and that's just the way I looked at it.
Can you tell us, like, you were a jockey, you obviously, were you National Hunt?
I was just riding amateur at the time.
Right.
I was actually riding my first winner in Punchestown before it happened, but that was it. Look, it was a short-lived career.
Did you intend on turning pro? Like, what? Like, was that part of your plan, was to become a jockey? That was it, the one thing that you always kind of dreamed of being as a kid?
I always wanted to be as a kid, but I knew I was too tall. I was never going to be a pro. I would love to be tipping away as an amateur and just enjoying what I was doing. I was down with Miss Harrington and loving working for Miss Harrington. She's a brilliant woman to work for, and just getting rides and points and riding in a few bumpers, and you just never know where you go as an amateur. But I was never going to be a professional, definitely not with the height of me, you know.
So after the fall, do you have to study to become an agent? Like, what is that process of actually getting your licence, apart from showing up looking a bit crook?
That's it. When you have to have a couple of jockeys at the time to go, and a few of the lads said, and I remember Fran Flood, senior jockey at the time. Fran said, Gar, look, I'll help you. I'd be glad to go to you. And I remember my first conditional jockey with Bobby Malloy and Nicky O'Shea, and Bobby actually flew. He was with Noel Meade at the time, and Nicky O'Shea was with Mrs. Harrington and the late Desi Hughes. And he's flying now out in Australia as we speak. But, like, it was just great to get them 2 kids and get them going. And I was good friends with them as well. And it just, one thing led to another then, lads, and it just took off from there. I started to get a few senior jockeys. Tommy Tracy came to me then and gave me a great step up the ladder. And then Garrett Cotter. And I remember after Garrett then, Andrew McNamara came to me, and we had some amazing times. Andrew McNamara was unbelievable, and he's doing brilliant at the training now. And then I suppose Mark Walsh came to me then, and I've never looked back, thank God.
I suppose, like you're mentioning the boys that you took on initially as well, like the fact that they're mates. I mean, you can have jockeys whose careers basically take a dramatic twist because of an agent or a particular race that the agent got for them that they won, and you know, whatever about the financial kind of reward, it must have given you a great kick that you were actually helping your mates get winners, and as much as you were in the background, you were pivotal in that kind of upturn in their careers.
Oh, definitely, Johnny. And it was so hard to start. Like, I was ringing trainers and I was saying, Garry Cribbin here, jockey's agent, I have such and such. And they were saying, who? And I was saying, just keep at it, just keep at it. Obviously, like, they didn't know me. I was new into the game. And I just stuck at it. I remember Bobby Malloy riding an outside winner for Mary Whelan in Roscommon one day. And I was on holidays the same year. And Raheen Boy, actually, a grey horse, and he made the run on it. And what a kick. I think it could have been a 0-95 chase in Roscommon. But it was my Gold Cup, like, you know.
Yeah, and what's it like then in terms of... I'm interested, is this like the 5 points in New York now where you have all these rival gangs kind of fighting for territory? Like, are you encroaching on the, you know, the agents that have established themselves? They want to protect what they have. So what was that like? Were you shy about kind of taking other lads on, or were you just like, well, this is the nature of the game, I got to get into this?
No, at first I was very standoffish, I suppose. I wouldn't be one for poaching jockeys or anything. I'd never go down that road. I don't believe in it, Johnny. I said, you don't get a good look for it. But like, I had to work my way up the ladder, and I suppose the only way I was going to work my way up the ladder was get the lads rides that I had and get them plenty of rides and try and get them winners. And I suppose a couple of these lads that were gone quiet, when I started getting them going again, others followed suit. And that's just the way it was. Like, so if a jockey rings me and asks me to take them on, of course I'm going to say yes. Like,
But how does that work? Is that you knowing enough about the trainers and the form that their horses are in that you almost catch them before the rest of the country does, and almost a little bit before the trainer does, and say, look, I've got a guy for you, I think your horses are going well, I think there's going to be a good suit? Like, you kind of need to be predictive a little bit, do you?
You do, Gerard. Look, it's a very, very close shop over here. It's actually gone harder every year. It's getting tougher. But like, the majority of trainers have a couple of lads in each yard. You could end up ringing a trainer and just saying, look, I have such and such, but they'll have to put it to the owners. And at the end of the day, the majority of the owners have to say now, which is rightly so. So the owners will come back to the trainer then and just say, look, I want such and such to ride my horse. And that's the way it is.
It is fascinating as well, because it's kind of like... It's like a manager managing a football team, right? So you have 22 players in your squad. Say, I referenced the League of Ireland earlier. One of the things I find about management, or looking at these managers, Vinnie Perth, how does he keep lads happy when he's like 25 players in a squad and he can only play 11, right? So you've got, like, say there's a 16-runner handicap at Ballinrobe on a Monday, and you have a team of 8 to 10 riders. That's just you, right? But you have to find a ride for them all if you can, and then you have to kind of do it in a hierarchical basis, in that, for example, the likes of Mark Walsh will obviously have preference. So how do you manage that and keep the lads at the lower rung happy? And also, like, is there a situation where an agent can essentially have too many jockeys on his or her hands because, like, first of all, it might be too much work, and secondly, how can I keep them all satisfied?
Good question, Johnny. And sometimes it's actually, I'd say it could be easier minding a creche of 20.
Garry Cribbin Creche Services.
But no, look, you just offer who you have. And at the end of the day, the trainers will pick. The majority of them will obviously go for the top. But like, there's horses there that are going to be lesser grades, the 95s, these 7-pound riders races, the less than 10 winners. It gives these guys a chance. But yeah, you've only 11 runners in Sligo or 14 runners in Ballinrobe. It's very hard when you have 25 to 30 jockeys to try and get on these with 4 or 5 other agents as well, trying to get the same lads' rides,
But you also have a duty to the... If you have 10 jockeys and one of them is Mark Walsh, right, and then you've 9 others, and somewhere down towards the pecking order, you have a duty to those riders to do as best you can for them and give them maybe an extra push because they might need it. So how do you, like, are you constantly in conversation with the jockeys? And you'll always have jockeys who are feeling a little bit... I mean, like you're on about how the closed shop, like 90% of jockeys in Ireland rarely have winners or have them sporadically. So is part of it like talking to that jockey and say, listen, just stick with it, I look after you, kind of, and you will look after them?
Yeah, Johnny, it's very hard and it's very frustrating on the majority of them. You know yourself, the quality of jockeys down the ladder we have over here is unbelievable. And especially some of these younger lads. But like, they have no other choice, just bide their time and hopefully get that break. You're always pushing them, Johnny, and you have to give them the extra plug. Like, you know, if they say, if a trainer, for example, wants a 7-pound claimer, and you're saying, I've got this young lad, look, he hasn't ridden a winner yet, but I promise you he can ride. Take my word on it. I have watched him ride, like, and he can ride. And you're just hoping that he gives him the chance to let him prove himself. But it could take years for some of these lads to get going. And the amount of lads that go by the wayside, Johnny, that never get a chance.
Unbelievable, yeah. And I suppose the only thing, Ger, as well, is there has been there's been a loss of a generation of jockeys now. So Ireland is as competitive as it is. We're in an interesting place, Gary, now over jumps, because Geraghty is gone, Ruby is gone, Carberry is gone, and you know there's a kind of maybe a small gap for the up-and-coming riders. You see the likes of Kevin Sexton having a real career revival at the moment, and you see some of the young jockeys coming up. There isn't like an obvious hierarchies, maybe like there was.
No, definitely not. When you take Paul Carberry and Ruby out of the equation, you know, even Dennis Hogan went yesterday. Like, Dennis is a top-notch rider. I know he's flying now with the training, and you know, best of wishes to him. Like, but he's a class rider. And as you said, Kevin Sexton, he rejuvenated his career and he's getting going as well. There's a younger group coming through now with Paul Townend and Mark Walsh and Rachel, and
they're not that young though. This is the thing. Like Mark Walsh is in his 30s. Rachel is probably similar enough, and Paul, I don't know what Paul is, but they're not actually that young. That's the funny thing about it. Like,
that's it. I suppose when you look at it like that, they're not. You know,
they had to wait so long because of because the lads rode till they were 40 odd or whatever.
Paul has bided his time behind Ruby there for years, and look where he is now. You know, Mark was the same behind AP and behind Barry. And hopefully now he'll step into more rides, you know. Rachel, we can't say no more about her. Rachel has proven what she can do, you know. But you're right, there is a gap there now for a few to come through, definitely.
Our guest this week is Garry Cribbin. You're watching Friday Night Racing here on Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie, or you can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Yeah, just to go back to that bit about what you're doing for them, are you ever tempted to kind of intervene and say you need to do something with your lifestyle, you need to do something with your diet, you need to get a little bit of coaching, you need to do a bit of fitness work? Is it that level where you kind of have that relationship with them, or do you just, by the time they get to you, they're grown-ups?
Not necessarily. You always have to keep on to them, Ger, because you know, some of them just get stuck in a rut there and they're happy out in the 1 yard, biding their time, whereas I'd be always pushing them, get out, get riding work. So in other words, riding work would mean go for a schooling race and offer your availability to other trainers there, even if it's on a Sunday. Gerard, get into your car and drive to Wexford or drive to Cork or drive to Galway. That could be the chance for these young lads to get going. If they're not willing to work with me, you know, you see lads move on to other agents and whatever, but you can only do your best for them and try and help them that way.
So you're happy enough to give out a bit of tough love if it's required? Definitely,
without a doubt. You're speaking about their nutrition side of things there. They'll go their own road when it comes to that.
Go on, what do you mean?
I mean, you can go and tell them to get the best dietitian going, but you don't know then what they're eating. I suppose these guys are in the car 24/7, and the easy option probably pop out into the drive-thru at McDonald's or something and then into the sauna the next day rather than eating something healthy and go on home. But, you know, that's up to them.
It does, unfortunately, Jared, does kind of lead to that. I mean, an awful lot of people, their diet is dictated by their job. So if you're a truck driver, your diet is probably a bit different than if you're, you know, I don't know, a teacher or whatever. Like, so, and a lot of these jockeys, you will find that they're so flat out, they're travelling all day. And what's that? There's that Chinese place in the little drive-through on the way home from Dundalk that the jockeys love, and you're like, well, it's not ideal, but like, I guess a lot of them, there's just life gets in the way.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come here, the impact on you, you said that you're back playing a bit of sport. When you're lying there in whatever state and they've grafted a bit of your pelvis to the back of your neck, did you think at that stage that you were going to be running again at some point?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be honest with you. I remember going down for the second operation at the time, and the doctor saying to me, you're going to be restricted, obviously, to turn your neck, you know. So I said, right, grand. I said, but once my legs are going, I'll find a way around it. So, no, it was worrying times, definitely, Jared. But look, we bounced back from it, and that's the main thing.
Well, you bounced back to pretty quickly because you took up running. Was that help? Was that part of why you bounced back so well? Is that you've become fairly addicted to running? It sounds like.
I took up running. I remember Lord of Mercy on John Thomas McNamara. He was after getting the fall in Cheltenham, and I wanted to do something. I had never ran at this stage, and I said, I'm actually going to train for the Dublin Marathon. And my brother-in-law, Derek Smith, he was running at the time, and I said, Derek, look, you're going to have to help me here. I want to raise some money to run the Dublin Marathon. Train me if you can, possible. And that's how I got into it. And I remember starting to run 5K, and it was horrendous, and 10K, it was worse. And then I remember getting up to the half marathon stage, and I saying to myself, I'm never going to get around Dublin. And but look, we duly did, and we made it to Dublin, and we got around in 3:38. And I said, I said, never again, never again. I remember lying across the back of Derek's car, feet up on the way home. I couldn't get up the stairs, couldn't get down the stairs the next morning. I was in bits, and I said never again. And about a week or two later, I was back on the roads, and I haven't looked back since.
So what brought you back?
I don't know. I suppose I wanted it better that time. I wanted it better that time, even though I hated it.
It was a poor time, to be fair. You know, you'd have to do better than that.
It was, yeah. Like 38. But yeah, I did, and I just got into it then, and I remember joining the club. A couple of lads from Clane there, Brian Conroy and David Conroy and Stephen, they were in Selbridge Athletic Club, and I went down there and I started to really enjoy it, and I loved it, and just kept going, and now I'm running 7 days a week.
There's got to be an element of this, like you're saying, you're in the office all day. You know, I use the term my brain is fried a lot, and your brain has to be fried at times, and this must be the exact release that you need just to get your head out of it.
Oh, definitely, Johnny. You know that pressure, it's unbelievable. Like, and you actually, you know, I get up every morning about 4:45, and literally just have the clothes out the door, and I'm gone. I train every morning, and then I'm in the office 7:30, fresh, like really ready to go. And then literally in the evenings, I've 3 double days, so I go out again then 3 times a week in the evenings as well.
That's bonkers.
More
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, you've gone from like we were kind of apt to lodge or whatever to seeing you're taking the mickey here a bit now. Running twice.
3
in a
double
day.
days and training every 7 days a week. That's so serious mileage.
Yeah, well, we're averaging about 90 to 95 miles every week.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, but loving it. Look, if I need to get faster, I need to do it, and that's it, you know. So we've got down to 2:38 now in London last year, so hopefully we can better that.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
Thanks.
And like, is this your missed calling as a child? Should you have been an Olympic runner? Like, because I mean, you know, if you're doing it at this stage, what would you have done if you'd taken it up when you were 14 or 12? Or...
Don't be saying that to him, Ger.
Yeah. We're running 3 times a day.
It is remarkable though. Like I've often said this about lads who don't ride horses. If you don't try something, you know, you have no idea if you might like it or not, and you take up running because you get an injury and you turn out that you're actually really good at it.
Definitely, look, and I don't know what it is. You just love that little bit of adrenaline in them 5Ks and 10Ks, and you're just trying to better your times the whole time, you know. And I just love it. Look, I wouldn't miss a day, and I actually love going out on a weekend and just heading away for 20 miles easy there, and you know, just going back and start the day then and get out in the evening for another 6 miles. Like, you've clocked up 26 miles there in the day, so that's a marathon, like, in alone, you know.
Yeah.
But I love.
You must be in great shape. So come here, you've done marathons all around the world then. So if London, you did 2:38. Where else have you done?
I've done the World Majors. I've done London, Boston, Chicago, Berlin, Tokyo.
Wow.
And New York. That was the 6 World Majors.
Wow. New York is Halloween, isn't that right?
Yeah, New York's it's a pretty tough one, yeah, but it's brilliant atmosphere over there. The Americans, they're a little bit loud, but it's brilliant.
I've been in New York at Halloween, and the whole city shuts down for the marathon, and then the whole city reawakens for Halloween because everybody goes completely crazy. It is probably one of the best weekends of the year to be there. I hear you had some trouble at Boston. The weather not quite so good.
Oh, Boston was 2 years ago in 2018. It was the coldest in the Boston history. It was horrendous. I remember going over, checking the weather, and saying it was freezing rain was the description on the weather. But I said, sure, I run in that every morning. Like, it says, can't be freezing rain. Like, you know, we're Irish. And I remember going out that morning, and the wind would cut you in two. But of course, I wasn't fully prepared. I literally had my vest and my shorts, and that was it. I remember putting a couple of black bags over the wind and rain. At the start, we were in a tent. The water was flowing through the tent. Water was flowing down the roads. So our socks and feet were actually soaking by the time we got off the bus. And I remember going through the first mile, and I was getting colder and colder. And I remember going through mile 10. I was getting a bit lightheaded. I said, this is something amiss here. It's not right, like, you know. And I got to mile 15. I collapsed at mile 15 with hypothermia. And I woke up in Hopkinton Hospital. And that was it. I remember waking up, and I said, God, I said, where's my number? Like, because all I was thinking was, this is my second last World Major. I need to finish this, like. And I was rigged up to I don't know how many gadgets, and the curtains were around me. So I said, where's my gear? So I put my hand down to the right, and there was a bag with all my wet gear. My number was still on my vest, everything. So I stupidly put on all the gear and done a legger.
What?
You absolute madman.
What? You're joking. I thought this was like, and then I realised that, and I rolled back over and fell asleep and went, I'll do this again. You went back?
I went out the front of the hospital. I hadn't a clue where I was. There was a taxi man, and I says, where's the marathon? And he says, oh, you're in Hopkinton. You're just at the top of the hill. He says, the marathon is down there to your left. So I went down the left, jumped over the barrier, and my watch was on mile 15, jumped over the barrier, back in at mile 15, and I actually do not remember a thing of that last 11 miles.
You've gone from doing an unbelievable promotion of getting into marathon running to doing the exact opposite in the shape of 5 minutes there.
It was pure stupidity anyway. But I remember I was on my own, and I had to get that flight home. That's all I was thinking of. I said, I'm not staying in Hopkinton Hospital. No way. I said, I need to get on that flight. And across the finish line, I actually genuinely thought for 1 minute, I said, things are not going. I'm not even going to make this flight. I was feeling that weak. Couldn't see. My eye vision was gone. And I said, just get to the airport. And I was freezing. I was rattling. And I remember putting a couple of file things around me at the finish line, get heat into me. Just couldn't. And made it to the airport. And I woke up in Dublin Airport. I obviously don't remember a thing. But I ended up in Tala then for 2 weeks. I was after developing a clot, and the clot went into my lungs. So I was stupid. It was absolutely stupid, but I got home and got out of it. So I'm on medication now for the rest of my life because of it. But it was my own fault.
I'm genuinely...
I don't really know what to say to that.
I did not expect that story to finish that way. And still you're running 90 miles a week.
Yeah, well, look, we're going now. We're going off heart rate. So, no, we're flying now. We're on medication, but it's good.
You got the good stuff. Right, that is an incredible story, Garry.
Completely forgot what you were actually here to talk about in the first place.
So listen, back to the agency. Is it a cutthroat game? Are there many of you in the industry at the moment? You said it's a kind of a closed shop, so there can't be that many of you out there, are there?
There's not. No, there's only a few of us. Yes, it is. It's very cutthroat business. Everyone's trying to make their living out of it. Everyone's trying to do it best by their jockeys. But look, you can only do what you can do, you know. And I'm a firm believer in lads just work hard and it'll pay off, you know. I always say if you mind your own business, you'll always have a business to mind. And I just look after my own and don't look after anyone else's or worry about anyone else's jockeys. I just try and get my own lads the best available, and that's all I can do.
You've had a decent week in Galway, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well, thank God. Mark was brilliant on early doors in the plate, and we were beat yesterday in the hurl. Jody was second on Hearts or Trumps. Mark, another winner on a horse of Ronan McNally's, who he's doing a brilliant job with. 11-year-old, the Trigger. Unfortunately, Sean Flanagan missed out. Sean had a bit of an injury the other day. I was talking to him the other day. He's in great form, but he'll be out for a couple of weeks. And we had Simon Turns had a winner yesterday for Ray Cody, a man that does a very good job as well. He won the first. So no, we're going well. Yeah.
And in terms of what's next, you're obviously always looking for the next big thing, but is it to make your own existing stable of jockeys better, or is it to find the next Ruby Walsh or the next AP McCoy?
I suppose you're always looking to have a champion jockey on your books. I definitely think I'm blessed with the group of lads and herself, Rachel, that I have. I wouldn't swap any of them for anyone. I'm happy with what I have, you know.
And did Mark and Rachel come to you as kids, or did they come to you later on in life? How did they both end up on your books? Mark
was actually a 3-pound claimer when he came to me. He was. We were playing golf one day in Kildare, and he turned over to me. We were going down actually the first fairway, and he said, "Would you like to be my agent?" And sure, I had a great round of golf after that. And I took him on. And Rachel, I remember Rachel was an amateur. She was riding point to points and bumpers for Shark Hanlon, John Hanlon. And John rang me one day and he said, "I have this girl here." He said, "Would you try and get her a few spins and bumpers?" And I said, "I will." And then he rang me, he said, "I'm actually going to make Rachel turn professional. What do you think?" And I said, "Shark, look, if you're going to get behind her, give her a go, definitely, without a doubt, and get behind her and support her as much as possible and give her as many as you can going forward." And I remember Rachel winning on a horse called Most Honourable for her first winner as a professional, who was actually Andrew McNamara's last winner as in his career down in Tramore. He was a great little servant. And ever since that, she was a brilliant. She just kept getting better and better and getting winner after winner. And now she's proven it all with her grade ones. And she's a massive job in Henry de Bromheads, and she's never looked back.
I think that that has been a fantastic story for racing, and Shark probably deserves a bit more credit than he gets for that, because I think most people would have said, you're absolutely bonkers. Whatever tip way as an amateur, you get the odd winner. But it's an interesting time for Mark Walsh now, isn't it? Obviously, with Barry retired, and from my mind, he's been the best jockey in Ireland for the last few years. I think he's top class. But is this the stage now where he's going to reach maybe the zenith of his career because the opportunities are there?
Hopefully, Johnny. As you said, he's always been top class. People forget, Mark Walsh, he rode a winner in Aintree when he was only 17 on Puckout, I remember, for Christy Roach. And he's done so much, under the radar. He keeps himself to himself, and he doesn't miss many opportunities, Johnny, as you know. He's proven it last year in the Champion Hurl. He proved it again there this week in Galway. But hopefully now we can just stay in one piece and keep going.
All right, look, you've been great with your time, Garry. One last thing that struck me there while you were talking. Famously, Rory McIlroy didn't have a contract with Chubby Chandler. Can jockeys just leave you as an agent? Is it all kind of effectively on the strength of a handshake, or do you have to set up kind of a legal standing for everybody to be able to use your services?
No, Ger, unfortunately, there's no contract at all. You can be walking into a restaurant on a Friday night and just get a text off one of them, "I'm going to someone else." Or you can just get a phone call, just, "Look, thanks for everything, I'm going to someone else," But I've had lads leave me. I've had lads come back. It's part and parcel of the game. Trainers lose horses and trainers get horses back. Look, it's hard to take, especially when you've done a lot for a good lad and he gets up and he just leaves you overnight. Like it's a big blow, like, you know. But look, these things happen, and you just move on and wish them the best of luck, and hopefully their careers going forward, going forward.
Well, likewise, we wish you the very best, Gary. Thanks a million for joining us today.
Gary.
It's great to have you with us.
Thanks a million for having me on. Cheers.
It's Garry Cribbin there giving us some thoughts on what it was actually like to be, and what it is like at the moment to be a jockey's agent, and also what it's like
to have hypothermia
and blood clot in your lung.
That didn't sound nice at all, to be fair.
No, what a story.
I mean, you've just visions of Homer Simpson just jumping from his hospital bed and doing a legger out the window. Like, wouldn't really be advisable what Gary did there for a man who clearly is very, you know, he's a goer, he's a doer and all that, but probably wouldn't have done that.
Hardcore, very hardcore.
Or at least he would have joined in, like, in the 25th mile and just said, like, I've done the marathon. But, like, to be so pig ignorant and stubborn that actually I'm going to just do the whole
thing, even after I've been hospitalised in the middle of the race. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Let's talk about last weekend. A tote win bet for Johnny. Gone Racing provided a much-needed win for Johnny in the Tote Irish Injured Jockeys Fund last Saturday at Tramore, bringing the total charity pot to 1,890. We're nearly over the £2,000. That's a big landmark for us. Can you make it 2 in a row this week with our €100 tote bet? Monday sees the launch of the new tote.ie website, which will mean changes for Tote account holders. Tote would like to ask all of their account customers to visit thetote.com/change to find out more about those changes. So, what are we looking at?
I'm going to go with Josephina in Kilbeggan, the 5:35. I was at my friend Robert Pollock's wedding in the K Club last year, no less. Highly recommended for a wedding. And I remember being out with a few of his cousins watching this race at Kilbeggan on my phone. You know, weddings with people who are into horses are a lot of fun because there's invariably going to be a race meeting on. But Josephina won, and I remember I had a few quid in her in a maiden hurdle, and it's just almost a year to the day. She's going back to Kilbeggan tomorrow. Tony Mullins, I think, might have the winner of the big race in Galway as well. Princess Zoe, who won during the week in the old GPT handicap for Finney Maguire, and is bidding to do one of those. We had a great crack with the One Cool Poet lads last year when that horse won 3. Josephina's going for 2, but she's going for 2 Premier Handicap wins. And he could have a good day. Sorry, not Josephina, Princess Zoe, but he could have a good day with Josephina at Kilbeggan as well. I think Josephina's a good chance. You like Josephina. You were tipping her up this time last year as well. I don't remember that, but then that must have been a particularly good wedding
Johnny
day.
Ward's Irish angle, Josephina primed to pounce at Kilbeggan, Saturday the 24th of August 2019.
Well, there you go. That was the day of Robert's wedding, and they're still married as well, so everything's going well.
Came in at 5-2 that day, so
it'll be similar enough odds, I think, tomorrow. But as I said, like, it's not normal that there would be racing clashing with Galway, but you know, in fairness, I'm sure Gary's been fairly flat out, but for punters, this has been a really, really great spell because we're not able to go racing, we're not able to go to sporting events. But if you are sitting on your armchair, you've been absolutely spoilt with the racing that's been on. And tell us about the rest of the weekends. Galway obviously still. Yeah, Galway today would be, I think, Galway's most successful day crowd-wise is now the Friday evening because not everyone takes the traditional 2 weeks holidays. Some people just have to like work, so then they go in the Friday evening. Great party atmosphere. It's probably my favourite day of the 7 at Galway because it's an evening meet. Galway's the best city in the world. Maybe New York a close second. What do you think? I mean, you know, the great cities of the world like Rio are kind of, you know, coughing, choking on their... No one has a vibe. Nowhere has a vibe like Galway, to my mind. But Galway on a Friday night of the races is particularly class. But anyway, that's... It's because it's so small, it's a great place. Yeah, and people are just very, in fairness, they are very friendly. So Galway's going to go on till Sunday. Big Premier Handicap that Princess Zoe runs in on Saturday. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't looked at the card on Sunday, but there's a big handicap hurdle traditionally, so that'll be an interesting Sunday as well. Okay. And is Goodwood over? Yeah, Goodwood's on tomorrow at the Lily Langtry Stakes. Snow goes over for Aidan O'Brien. Going to take on a hot favourite. But yeah, Goodwood's been great. As I mentioned, Fancy Blue winning for Donica. I think his first British runner. Took Donica a while to have a winner on grass, but now he's just absolutely bombing it. And I know he's been handed all these good horses on a plate, but a lot of good trainers have made good horses run slowly, and Donica's not doing that. Yeah, so the kids had a good week. Yeah, Joseph won the plate, Mark Walsh, and... just briefly chat about that, because we've had him on a good bit, and I think we just asked him, like, what will the split in the future be in terms of flat horses versus jumps horses? And he's like, well, look, there's more money in flat horses. There was like, this is a business decision, and of course it is. But if you've got JP McManus giving you horses
they're going to be good horses.
Yeah.
So you're gonna keep that. Like, you get to pick because your record is so good. I'm only going to keep really good jumps horses now.
Yeah, like the problem for Joseph is there are only 24 hours in the day, I think. I don't know how he does it. I really don't. Like, he has, like, if you envisage Gary's problem in dealing with agents or dealing with trainers and trying to get horses on jockeys and horses and all that, like, Joseph has to run them against each other because he has so many of them. How do you keep the owners happy? And then how do you marry the ambition of winning a Melbourne Cup with winning, like, a beginner's chase in Tremor the same day? Like, trainers will tell you that training flat and jumps horses is very similar, but there are still major differences in terms of the headaches that jumps horses give you and the fact that, you know, there's far more money in the flat game. So I think, like, to me, Donnacha's going to go down that route and stay there. Joseph, I've no idea how he does it. I know his father started off training Isterbrack and so forth, but eventually just essentially trained flat horses. I've no idea how he delegates. I've no idea how he keeps on top of the horses. Lucky he's teetotal, I suppose. All
right, Johnny, enjoy the weekend. Good stuff.
Yeah, you too, Ger.
Friday Night Racing and Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. We'll see you next Friday afternoon, bang on 3 o'clock. And the best place to get us these days, of course, is the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in the App Store, and you can watch back all of the previous episodes of Friday Night Racing and get it on podcast too. Cheers. See you next week.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.